some 3 years ago. It was June time. And we had this idea to assist and promote our wonderful Chief Rabbi, Dr. Warren Goldstein's very successful Sinai and Darba program, where many international speakers are invited to the Santon Convention Center on a Saturday night and Sunday and present their most informative topics. To assist it by arranging a bus which would offer to collect the members of various communities and go together with their rabbi to the Sinai and Darba on the Motzi Shabbos, a Saturday night, and on a Sunday morning. And when I mentioned this to the rabbi of a small little shul in the Melrose area by the name of Rabbi Shaul Bacha, he pointed out to me that just up the road is a retirement home. 60 Jews approximately live there, and they wouldn't quite easily fill up the bus, and it would be such a wonderful experience for them. And I duly went into the home, which was the very first time, even though I was praying in that shul just down the road. I walked into that retirement home and had a wonderful warm reception from the manageress at the time, and included them on our program, our bus schedule for the Sinai and Darba. When I went to the chief rabbi to tell him what we had arranged and get his buy-in and approval, he pointed out that the rest was outstanding and that he would arrange for reception on the other side. But senior citizens who have walkers and wheelchairs and who need to get onto a bus and go to a convention center are going to find it very, very difficult. And instead, the chief rabbi suggested that we arrange for one of the Sinai and Darba speakers to rather go to them. I ended up being that speaker. And on the Sunday night, we had a feedback talk in the spirit of the Sinai and Darba. I wasn't one of the Sinai and Darba speakers, but I attended a lot of it, and I was able to give them feedback in the spirit of the Sinai and Darba. We had a full room with probably every able-bodied resident who came to attend this feedback talk, which was, firstly for myself, was an evening I'll never forget, so inspiring and invigorating. And for the residents, it was probably the very first time that they had a rabbi come and speak to them, and where they were given an opportunity to nourish their souls, which are so often neglected in these retirement homes, which are not run and owned by Jewish people in the main, and who do not have a feeling for what the Jewish nation needs to nourish their souls. And at the end of the evening, I said to the residents, "Do you have Kiddush arranged for you in your dining room on a Friday night?" And the answer was no. And I didn't give them an opportunity to ask if they wanted Kiddush. I said, "We'll arrange Kiddush for you next Friday night." And my wife went out and bought small little plastic cups, which are actually only meant to be used once, but which we ended up using for more than a year and a half, if I recall correctly. And we brought our own wine and our own grape juice and our Kiddush cup, and I came there at 6 o'clock at the time of their supper, and I addressed the residents with a small idea about the portion of the week, and I said Kiddush for them. And this went on for many, many weeks. In fact, it went on for many months. And my wife said to me, the residents should own the project. And we looked for able-bodied residents who were able to say Kiddush, and we encouraged them. And slowly they took over saying the Kiddush. And the ladies started lighting Shabbos candles and bringing challahs. And we then introduced washing facilities for the residents. And slowly the residents started doing the washing before the bread and saying the hamotzi and handing out the challah. And now they are able to do this each week, and we endeavor to send a volunteer to come and speak to the residents on a Friday night at the time of Kiddush. And as time went on, well, the Chagim arrived, and it came, for example, it came to Chanukah. And we realized the residents don't have an opportunity to light Hanukkah candles. We arranged Hanukkah candles, and each night I came and I sang with the residents, and I printed beautifully enlarged cards, sheets, with the Maos Tzur and the blessings for the Hanukkah lighting, the Maos Tzur, so that they could participate. And it came to Purim. Do you have a Megillah reading? And no. We arranged a rabbi to come and read the Megillah for them. And it came to Tisha B'Av, the saddest day in the Jewish calendar. Do they have any programs? No. We arranged for them that on Tisha B'Av we would show them an internationally presented video, which is presented all around the world, that they can also participate in this. And slowly we built up a full program for the residents to commemorate and help them participate in all the Jewish festivals. Just last year, it was around Yom Kippur, and living in Sally's Alley and walking up Corlett Drive, which, as you can imagine, is a two-way sort of mini highway in the middle of the suburb, and you're walking in your Shabbos and Yontif clothing up this a street with cars whizzing on either side, blazing sun coming down. This is in the springtime, and the only way, what I do, I think. By thinking, I'm able to get through this maze and whiz of traffic where everyone else is conducting their regular business, and we, as the Jewish people, are on our way to synagogue. And my thoughts are on the people in the area. And what struck me, it's about the time for the Shabbos Project. Our chief rabbi, once again, has created an unbelievable project that not only is playing itself out here in South Africa, but has gone to every continent practically in the world and has been adopted by Jews all over. Millions are being affected by this incredible project. And I said, we've got this retirement home. There are 60 Jews. That's over 90% of their residency. Can we not make a Shabbos project for them? And I must tell you, so many miracles came together. We felt Hashem's hand pushing us to create the Shabbos project for the residents. One of the big challenges for our residents was, how are they going to get to shul in the day? In the night, we plan to make for the residents a Friday evening service in the home. But in the day, on Shabbos, to get a Sefer Torah and someone to lead the service for them was a big challenge. And besides, some of the residents were already going to shuls nearby and weren't able to walk that distance with ease. And how are they going to be able to keep up their regular Shabbos activities and still keep Shabbos? When I was overseas, I noticed that there was a green form of travel which was powered by pedal cabs. Individuals would pedal these magnificent-looking vehicles all through the street with passengers on the back. And I said, if only we could get one of these for our residents here in South Africa, in Johannesburg, for the Shabbos Project. Because being muscle-power driven, I knew that there would be no halachic problem to get such a vehicle operational and to transport our senior citizens on Shabbos in such a way. Much like pushing them in a pram or stroller, this would simply transport them, but with a big difference. It was something of chashivus, something that gave them a sense of not being looked down upon, but rather being elevated and to travel in style through the streets of the city. And Baruch Hashem, with Hashem's help, after many, many hours and many phone calls and emails, we found a very kind Jew who lives in Camps Bay, who knew of someone who had imported such vehicles. In fact, he himself had imported such vehicles. And he gave us his leads, and we phoned and we phoned and we phoned. And eventually we found a gentleman who told us about an entrepreneur who had brought some demonstration vehicles into this country. And definitely they were pedal-powered, and he gave us the contact details. And I called up someone, and I spoke to him in Afrikaans because this gentleman answered me in Afrikaans. And I told him, do you have what we're looking for? And he said, yes, we've got one. In fact, we've got one in Johannesburg. And I said to him, we've got a special Sabbath that's going to be kept all over the world, and we're looking for something to transport our senior citizens here in Johannesburg. Do you think we can borrow or use your vehicle? And he said, you know what, call me tomorrow. I'm going to speak to the committee. And when I called him the next day, he said to me that you can have the vehicle. This vehicle is residing 3 blocks from our offices. And it's available 12 o'clock that day. We arranged to meet. I charged down there with my colleague and get my riding togs out, because I said we're going to cycle this vehicle up to our offices. And we arrived there, and there's this magnificent yellow vehicle, which we've now dubbed which our residents have now dubbed the yellow Rolls Royce. And within no time, we had the vehicle back in our offices, and we started repairing up. We started tweaking it, and that as well. We actually found a problem. The vehicle was not operational, and again, through Hashem's guiding hand, we found a company that was able to repair it. We had to send 2 trucks, one bigger than the next, in order to transport it for maintenance. And we had another problem. How do we get our senior citizens to mount the vehicle? It was approximately 1 meter off the ground, and that's not an easy step for senior citizens to make. Baruch Hashem, it was Chol HaMoed Sukkos, and I met a fellow Jew, and I told him our problem, and he said, I'll make them. I'll make 2 ramps for them to be able to mount the vehicle. And the Sunday following Sukkos, we had arranged for a launch where the residents would have an opportunity to take a fun ride on the vehicle, and he duly arranged for those ramps to be delivered in time for the launch so that the residents could easily climb into the vehicle. And there was another small problem, that the residents needed to be encouraged to actually climb into the vehicle. People don't like change, and senior citizens even less. Don't transplant old trees, it's not good for them. But this was aside. Senior citizens don't like change. And it was, if I recall correctly, second day Sukkos, and I'm busy walking late afternoon up to Shiur, and I'm in an area where it's rather unusual to meet a fellow Jew walking on Yom Tov. And who do I bump into? A rabbi who was on his way back, his wife had just given birth to a son, and he was on his way back from visiting his wife in the nursing home. As Hashem would have it happen, his grandmother is a resident in this very retirement home. His grandmother is a regular shul goer. And I tell him about our planned launch, and he said to me, you need to offer the children and grandchildren to have rides and photographs in the vehicle, and that way all the residents will climb in and have photos and not see this as something foreign. And that's exactly what we did. It gives our senior citizens the sense of being respected. It's like traveling in a chariot. It's like traveling in a carriage. Besides being such a wonderful way to engage and provide for active aging for our senior citizens.
We are rolling.
And we had this launch where the residents were able to have a ride with their children, grandchildren. Everyone loved it on this yellow Rolls Royce at the launch. And now that the residents were comfortable to make use of the vehicle, when it came to the Shabbos Project, we had a wonderful response from the residents on the Shabbos day, utilizing it in its intended purpose to take them to and from shul in a completely permitted way, in a way that our Beth Din here in South Africa sanctioned for those who are unable to walk on Shabbos, to give them an opportunity to still get to shul in a permitted way and back from shul. And we been able to operate this vehicle through thick and thin, and with amazing guidance and miracles that come together to help us operate our yellow Rolls Royce every Shabbos for the residents of this retirement home who otherwise would be forced to go to shul in a forbidden way. Now they're able to go every Shabbos to shul in a completely permitted way. Besides the fact that it's so much safer because this can offer a door-to-door service, picking them up right outside the entrance of the retirement home and literally taking them all the way down to the entrance of the shul. Whereas previously they'd have to navigate difficult paths and dangerous inclines from parking lots, etc., in order to reach the shul with heavy walkers and so on and so forth. And it's been a big privilege, and the residents love it. The residents feel important, they feel respected, and above all, they're able to feel spiritually nourished by the fact that they are able to keep Shabbos. Our precious senior citizens are able to keep Shabbos still and be engaged with the rest of our precious Jewish community. But we have one big challenge, and that is, in order to operate this every week, we are in need of, for example, crowdfunding in order to operate this vehicle. It is something that does not cost a lot. It is a way for those who have a feeling for Shabbos and a feeling for senior citizens, our senior citizens, to step to the plate and contribute a little in order to give them a lot. Please God, we are coming up again to our precious Shabbos Project on the 23rd of October this year on Parashat Lech Lecha, and we are praying that just like last year we made a Shabbos Project with so many miracles coming together, that again this year we will offer not only the residents of this one retirement home, but of the numerous retirement homes, private retirement homes across Johannesburg, in fact across South Africa, but particularly in Johannesburg, who have high concentration of Jewish residents, close to 99% Jewish occupancy in these retirement homes, and do not have any form of spiritual engagement that they may participate with, in any form of spiritual connection, do not have Jewish ceremonies offered to them, Kiddush on Friday night, Shabbos candles on a Shabbos, challah that they can enjoy on a Shabbos, and most importantly, Jewish neighbors and fellow Jews who necessarily know about them and who can come and visit them on a Shabbos, people who live in the area but do not even know about the retirement homes or who's in there. And I myself am guilty of this, because until the Sinai and Daba came about, even though I daven week after week in the same road, 2 buildings away from this retirement home with 60 Jews, I'd never even stepped into it just to put my head in. But thanks to the Sinai and Daba, I was able to do so. And so much has come from that. A whole organization was born from these activities, and there is so much more that we wish to do and offer to our Jewish residents. From kosher food as an option, to give them that opportunity if they wish to continue keeping kosher like they did in their own homes, in their own kitchens, that they have that opportunity. And if their children and grandchildren, many who keep kosher, some who are even rabbis, that if they wish to order kosher for their elderly parents and grandparents, that they have that option available, a kosher option for our senior citizens who are in these private retirement homes, that they can choose that if they wish, because once they're in there, they do not have that opportunity anymore. And many will not even eat the meat. They will be very careful what they eat, because they want to continue the traditions that they had in their youth. And as my wife, to quote my wife, when senior citizens age, it is only logical that they try and do a little bit more that they try and upgrade themselves a little bit more spiritually, and just to give them a kosher option. And on top of that, to give them food that is prepared specifically with senior citizens in mind. Very simply put, senior citizens lose their senses as they age. They lose the sharpness of their senses as they age. And today science teaches us, today dietitians have discovered that there is an art and a science to preparing food specifically for senior citizens with enhanced fragrance, smell, taste, and colors. Portion size is appropriate. Dietary requirements accommodated in order to allow and encourage senior citizens to eat the nourishing food that they so need. And on top of it, if we can add kosher to it, we will give them the opportunity to not only nourish themselves physically, but also emotionally and spiritually, as they know they are doing the right thing. And that for us is a huge vision. And please God, again, we'll have the opportunity, like we did this last Shabbos Project, where we went to the children and generous donors of the community, and we fundraised a kosher supper and lunch for our senior citizens so that they could enjoy Shabbos the way it should be. And we appeal to the community to assist whoever has a heart for senior citizens, and particularly for the Shabbos Project and our very precious fellow Jews and Jewesses who find themselves in need.